All right, in this video, I want to discuss my approach to programming. I basically just have a list of movements in the notes section on my phone, and I practice and progress those every week, or try to. I focus on having just enough variation that I can make progress and not agitate any of my joints. But I really only have like 1 to 4 movements that I practice per muscle group. I track what weight I'm currently using and what rep range I'm currently practicing for that specific movement. I've done enough experimenting already to have an idea of what rep ranges work best for me for each exercise, and I highly encourage you to experiment with different exercises and rep ranges to find what works best for you. These days, I don't really have a set program. I just listen to my body and I train things when they feel recovered. I tend to fluctuate between full body days, I say that in air quotes, and in isolation days. I also track how many sets per week and the frequency that I've hit for each muscle in a separate list. So I can manage my volume and my frequency for the muscles that I want to prioritize, or the ones that I just want to maintain. I also use giant sets and supersets. One, because I'm kind of a spaz and I love to keep moving while in the gym. I don't like waiting an extreme amount of time in between sets. And second, because they save a ton of time and they allow you to get a lot more work in one session. One thing I think that people need to realize is that there is not one program that is best. We are all freaking unique butterflies out here. And, the best program is the one that you enjoy, that is centered around movements that you connect well with and that makes your body feel good. My goal typically is to add a rep or as many reps as I can from each training session to the next, each week to the next. And keeping that in mind, I try to make sure that my technique and my rep speed stay consistent so that I'm tracking my progress consistently. I also don't worry too much if I haven't added a rep for a few weeks or even a month. I just keep going, and eventually I will get a rep PR. And in the intermediate phase like I'm in, you should be progressing relatively quickly, but things do start to slow down. And I found, for me, not worrying about a sticking point and I keep going, it usually pays off. I have fallen into the trap of being too rigid with training in the past, and I've even made programs in the past where I would be pushing certain muscles before they were fully recovered just because I needed to stick to the program or I was consistently practicing lifts that either felt like shit or I just dreaded doing. I didn't even like them. It didn't even feel good for me. I realized that not being fully recovered in between workouts can be a programming issue in and of itself, but managing your stress levels, just being super busy in general, or managing your sleep are all things that are a work in progress for me and most people. So for me, stepping out of a more rigid programming style helps give me the freedom to still hit my weekly frequency requirements, but it also gives me the chance to change things up and swap movements out based on how my body is feeling on a daily basis. I've learned that from other natural bodybuilding channels that this isn't recommended for novices and even intermediates in some cases. And I would agree that for complete novices who don't have the consistency part of training down, they would probably benefit from a more rigid approach to training. You're still learning the ropes. You're still literally just trying to get motivated enough to actually go to the gym. Going in willy-nilly is probably not the best idea. But for me, where I'm at in my current lifting journey, this really helps me enjoy training, and it helps things not feel so stale. I think this especially works for me because in the grand scheme, I don't practice that many different movements, so there really isn't a chance for me to stray too far off the path week to week, and I also currently have very limited equipment. Now, I want to explain how I progressively overload each week. I know this has been discussed on many channels, but if for some crazy reason I'm the first person you stumble upon, I think it would be good to just explain it so it's out there. Let's take the movement, a single arm overhead press. Right now in my program, I'm currently working with 47.5 pounds for 3 sets. And I've chosen an 8 to 12 rep range. That meaning if last week on the first set I got 10 reps, and the second set I got 10 reps, and the third set I got 9 reps, the next time I train that movement, I'm going to try to add a rep. So I get 10 on the first set, 10 on the second set, 10 on the third set. If I can get more reps than just that one, well, that's a bigger win, and that's great. If I get the same reps or I even lose a rep, I just keep training. I just keep training it for a few more weeks, and usually I'll end up adding that rep. Since I work between that 8 and 12 rep range, once the first set gets to the high end of that rep range, once it gets to 12, and I have a week where I hit 12 reps on my first set, 11 reps on my second set, and 11 reps on my third set, I add weight. Some movements I add 2.5 pounds to, some I add 5 pounds to, but once I add weight, I know in the very least I have to we're right back down to the beginning. We're in the low end of the rep range now. We're going to try and get 8 for the first set, 8 for the second set, 8 for the third set. But if I can get more reps than that, I will. I always try to push myself as hard as I can, and my goal is to train as close to failure as possible on most movements. That doesn't apply to everything, but we can talk more about that later. I apply this double progression method to all my lifts, and I've been consistently progressing this way for months. My goal is to keep progressing in this fashion for years to come. Well, I think that's about it. I will see you turkeys next week. Keep on getting them gains, y'all.